We want to investigate it to see its correlation to each other. We want to be able to determine if North American, African, what they call Egyptian, is all in fact one culture, one people, and where the separation began, who started it, why they did so. This stone here, they say, is the obelisk of King Netanyahu. Now Netanyahu, first of all, he couldn't be a king, because the word king is Sumerian according to them, right? A pharaoh, but his name is Netanyahu, or Nebo. The word Nebo is in Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar in your Bible is considered a Babylonian. However, Nimrod, a Babylonian, was the son of Cush, Ethiopia. Cush, son of Ham, Africa. And Nimrod set up 5 cities, or Sargon. You're going to see him when we go through Egypt and go into Mesopotamia. They'll talk about the gates of Sargon. Sargon was the son of Cush. He was a Cushite, an Ethiopian, an African. So that word Nebu or Nebo is an African word. This is why there's an Egyptian pharaoh who's from the place called Hermopolis. Hermopolis is the city we call Thebes or Thebes. This being Netanyahu is an African ruler, and this is an African obelisk. All African cultures, wherever we erected them, the great queens and the great kings, as they are called today, they erected obelisks, whether they were called totem poles, whether they're called obelisks, whether they're called steeples or minarets. It all symbolizes time, the keeping of time. To confuse the people, we must first confuse their concept of time. The way you perceive time is going to affect everything else. And the Greeks understood this, so they brought in chronos, chronology, the alteration of time, so things will only be viewed from a Greek perspective. Fair enough? Now we can begin. We're going to head over to West Africa first. But before we go to West Africa, above it, West Africa in general, you're going to find they put it in the basement. Right? And it's separated from Egypt, Nubia, Kush, Sudan, as if they're not in Africa. So let's take a walk. All right, so now what are we looking at here? Another Ben-Ben, another obelisk. They're calling this a totem pole, right? This is from Canada. But if we look at the features closely, we see melanin features. On the very bottom at the base, you see a rabbit. Right here. See the ears? This rabbit symbol is African, Egyptian will say. The deity's name is Reverand. The female and male who both, you can go on your Google smartphone or Google Images and type in Egyptian deities wearing rabbit masks. Her name is Wenenet, and she's a female. Remember, the North American and South American people, the African people, the Indus River Valley people, the Caribbean people, all one people. The cultures only varied as far as the environment they were in. If you were in an environment where wolves were the dominant predator, then it became the highest symbol of strength and power. If you were in an environment where the great whale, the orca, was the dominant creature or character, it became the symbol of power. Wherever creature in your environment provided food, sustenance, protection, or was feared, became the symbol of dominance and power. But your religion or your spirituality and how you related to nature always remained the same. It was only Europe with their male worship and that whole situation, pedophilia and everything else that came along with it that changed it. Now, if we look to the very top, he's wearing a top hat. A symbol that many Europeans wore during the 14th, 15th, 16th century. Or they call it the hat of the magician. But yet this is a Native American symbol, and this same hat, when we go down to Africa, you're going to see in South Africa amongst the Zulu women wearing a similar hat. So they're telling you that this is all the same culture, because we were already, as Dr. Van Sudermer has explained many times in his writings, we were already traveling to North and South America way before Columbus and them, when they still thought the world was flat. Fair enough? All right, so now we're going to go into North America and then down into what they're calling Africa. This is a symbol of what they say is Easter Island, right? Something that they'll like to claim. The same way they want to claim Stonehenge, right? Though they can't explain the real symbolisms behind it. But if we look here, this is what they're calling Alaska, North America, but going up into Alaska in that area. As we said again, whatever animal allows you to survive. In Alaska, the husky. Because traveling across the terrain with ice and barren and the frigid temperatures, without a husky, you're pretty much not going to make it. They have to be able to pull the sled, so it becomes a high symbol of survival. The boat, allowing you to cut holes in the ice, fish for food, to survive, to move across water masses. Everything in your symbolism, the sled, everything we did as indigenous people always had to do with basic survival. If it didn't allow you to survive, it had no correlation to your spirituality or to your history or any aspect of who you were. All right? Let's turn around and look here. We're going to see the bird. In many of our cultures, the hawk, the eagle, the falcon was looked upon as the high symbol of divinity because of its ability to fly above the mountains. And the mountains were always seen, whether it's a pyramid or Mount Kilimanjaro or Mount Rushmore today, its ability to permeate the atmosphere, move above the clouds, which was viewed as transcending the physical world. In the same manner, we saw ravens, crows, vultures, condors, things that you call scavengers, as extremely important because they remove dead bodies. If the dead bodies are not removed, what happens? Disease sets in. So again, your symbolisms were always based off of practical uses and practical approach to life. Without the eagle, without the hawk, without the raven, without the vulture, without the condor, human beings would die. So it wasn't about worshiping these animals, it was about understanding their necessity. We don't worship chicken, but we eat it. We don't worship snapper, but we eat it. We understand the importance towards sustenance that it holds in our lives, those of us who eat those animals. If you eat vegetation, then it became a high symbol for you. Now, before we go downstairs again, they put Africa in the basement and they separated it from the rest of Africa. But there's a reason they do that, to put in your mind, because again, if you notice, certain things we're going to see in this museum are in glass cases. What does this put in our mind when you see it in the glass case? That is valued, that is protected. So then why are there things outside of the glass case? What is it putting in our mind that it lacks the same importance? So we're going to see, as we're moving throughout this museum, we're going to see that someone is misdirecting us to look away from what is important and focus on what holds very little importance in many instances. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Any questions here?
What's that?
Let's go read it. Okay, this is the Latmo village. They say this comes from the cult houses. In all of our ancient societies, you know how Freemasonry today has the Lodge, Eastern Star, the Grand Lodge of England? We had sacred female societies and sacred male societies. Why were they important? Because all of our indigenous cultures as melanin people globally understood the importance of putting the boy and girl to death. What does that mean? At a certain age, you got to grow up. So our cultures had coming of age rituals. Western society or teachings do not have a coming of age ritual. So people are walking around 18, 19, 20, 25, 30, still saying I'm young and not embracing responsibility. The Jewish people have what's called a bar mitzvah. But that principle, where they're taking that from is African. The Yoruba have it, the Igbo have it, the Zulu have it. There's not one indigenous tribe of Africa, North America, South America, the Indus River Valley, in the Caribbean that did not have a coming of age ritual for their young women and young men. Because it was understood you have to grow up at some point. But Western society says, I'm young. You know, you're as young as you feel, you know, I'm young forever. We want to hide our age. We're afraid of gray hair. And they put this thing in our mind that only youth is power, when in reality, the older you get, the wiser you become. The more experiences you have, the better decisions, we hope, right, that we're able to make. But European dogma advocated the reverse of that. So there is no coming of age ritual. So you have young people walking around not knowing what to do because they have no reason to really grow up. And we have to do different. We have to do different. Okay?